Hi everyone, it's Kino here. Welcome to this Yoga for Rest, Recovery, and Relaxation class. This practice will be all about finding ease and comfort in your hips. If you like this practice, be sure to leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel, and when you're ready to go really deeply into the practice with me, head on over to Omstars.com so we can dive deeper in. Now let's start in a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes. Bring the hands together. A long, deep breath in. As you exhale, let's softly open the eyes, and we are ready to begin. We'll start off on the hands and knees, and gently moving through hands and knees, hands shoulder width apart, knees hips width apart. Let's start by rocking side to side in the pelvis, just getting the feeling of where are the hips. Sometimes we store a lot of tension on those outer bands, so we're just going to rock from side to side, just getting the feeling like, yes, there's a little bit of tension there. Yes, there's a feeling. Good, and we're getting the feeling with no forcefulness, just yes, over to one side, over to the other side, over to one side, over to the other side. One more time, like a really big windshield wiper motion, over to the other side. Last one, and this kind of really explore the range of motion, getting the feeling. Very good. Okay, now I'd like us to separate the knees a little bit. Grab a bolster or a big bed pillow, and then we'll go for a wide child's pose. So we're going to move that a little bit wider than usual, and then bring the bolster a little bit in, and then exhale. Let's come down, and allow yourself to just kind of feel a settling in. And let the knees separate just a little bit, maybe more than usual, especially more than in child's pose. Find the support of the bolster, and then give the hips a little wiggle so you can feel the support and the release. The gateway into releasing the hips comes from releasing the back muscles. When our back muscles store tension, that kind of transfers down into the hips, blocks our access into the hips. So let's just release everything along the backside, from the lower back into the pelvis, from the pelvis into the hip sockets, around the glutes, and then around the upper thighs, the inner thighs, the outer thighs. Allow yourself to find that release. We'll stay about 5 more breaths. So allow these last 5 breaths to be very deep, very long, very conscious. Three more breaths. Two more breaths. One more breath. All right, that's good. Let's slowly come back to the center. Rest up on the elbows, and then now we'll work a little bit stronger, all right? Just for maybe one quick pose like that. We're going to work a frog pose. So I want you to come up onto the bolster and slide a little forward. And if there's any tension around the inner thighs, this will help. So we're feeling that the bolster is providing a little support. Let's separate the feet Then you can ask the knees to come up a little bit, and you can slide them in place. And then let's see where the head wants to rest. Maybe you can rest forward. And getting the feeling that the bolster is fully supporting the pelvis to make sure that there's not too much demand on the inner thighs. And now let's stay for another 5 deep breaths. And if you turned your head to one side in the last pose, child's pose, maybe you want to turn your head to the other side here. Just kind of rest a little bit down. We'll have 5 deep breaths here. Notice the tendency of the knees to kind of fall back, and see if it's possible for the knees to kind of stay a little forward, so you can walk them a little forward again. Conscious deep breathing here. 3 more breaths. Two more breaths. One more long, deep breath. That's good. Okay, let's inhale, slowly find the way back up, coming up onto the elbows and observing the sensations again. Let's press back lightly through the legs and see if we can come back to the legs in a straight position forward. Let's let the pelvis hang off of the bolster for a moment and just allow the front of the hip to open. So often when we talk about releasing the hip, we work with the back of the hip, and we work with the movement around, inside the glutes and around the deep 6 hip rotator muscles, and we forget about releasing the front of the pelvis. So let's work now on releasing the front of the pelvis a little bit and just kind of lying back, the hips off of the bolster, and we'll just hang out there just for a couple breaths. And notice the comfort, the discomfort. When the front of the hips are very tight, this can create a little bit of referred pain in the lower back. So observe if that's arising for you. And if so, just press a little more into the elbows, give yourself a little more back space so that truly the front of the hip can open. We'll stay for one more breath. Very good. Okay. Now, we're going to press off of the bolster, walk the knees lightly in, scoot it back, get 2 blocks, or if you don't have 2 blocks, then 2 more pillows from around your house, and we'll turn completely around so that now the back is going to rest up on the bolster. And then, layering the spine down, we'll place the knees on the blocks, and this is Supta Baddha Konasana, giving the feeling of release to the inner thighs, giving the feeling of release around the glutes and their relationship to the lower back. And we'll stay here for a little while, maybe a little bit longer than the frog. And observe the difference in the sensations as we kind of move around different access points to feeling the hip, the sides of the hips, fronts of the hips, backs of the hips. Let the mind and body find that frequency of healing, the frequency of rest and recovery. No need to try too hard. Just see where the body can release. We'll stay here for about 5 more breaths. Let these breaths be long and deep. Two more breaths. And the last breath. Slowly bring the feet away from the blocks. Scoot the pelvis off of the bolster, leaning over to the side, and then just move the bolster away. And then exhale, lie completely down for a few breaths. Feeling that sense of ease and flow through the body. Slowly begin to reawaken, feeling each movement in the hip as you bend the knees all the way up into the chest. Giving a little squeeze in. Exhale, roll onto the side. Find the way back up to a comfortable seated position. We'll close the eyes, bring the hands together. A long, deep breath in. As you exhale, let's softly open the eyes. Thank you so much for joining me on this practice. May be happy, may be peaceful, may be filled with love.